Armstrong? Yes, really. I work for Tribepad, and I'm here today to talk about, continue today's theme, really, of video in recruitment. So how it's being used today, some tips, some data from our clients, and also a look at tomorrow and what might be around the corner of potential uses of video in the near future. So very quick word on Tribepad. So we're a talent acquisition software development company. That's all we do. So we're techies. We built an applicant tracking system which has got integrated video interviewing, onboarding, and very shortly an integrated CRM module as well, which we're actually building with one of our clients down here, Catherine from Sodexo. So we've got a real history of innovation working with our clients. So our roadmap's really innovative, reactive, and we've also built a freelance management system to help some of our clients deal with the increasing number of contractors, statement of work projects that increasingly we're seeing as businesses are moving towards sort of total workforce management and not just full-time employees. Our team is our top priority. So what I mean by that is we employ smart people, then we give them loads of autonomy, we pay them really well, because we know that will turn into them building a really good product and offering a fantastic service to our clients. So as a result of that, we've grown largely through recommendation, word-of-mouth referral over the last 10 plus years. In terms of who we work with, we're really proud to partner with some of the UK's best-known organisations. You'll recognise lots of those brands. Generally speaking, we work with organisations who've got 750 or more staff, and in particular where off-the-shelf SaaS software isn't flexible enough. Can't create the different workflows you need for the different kinds of roles, different departments. So where there's some sort of complexity in the business or perhaps really, really rapid growth, where your processes aren't mature and you need a system that can flex with you, that's where we tend to work and specialise. So, quick show of hands. Who is currently using one-way video interviewing at any part of their recruitment platform? Any part of your recruitment process. Okay, maybe 10, 15%. Keep your hands up. Who's using two-way video interviewing, as in a live video interview? Okay. And who thinks your hiring managers are doing two-way video interviews using FaceTime and Skype and WhatsApp with no control whatsoever from the recruitment team? Yeah. So we did a survey last year and surveyed about 250 companies, and we found that 85% of them found that video was actually being used, albeit largely unofficially unregulated. And about 73% of companies thought that the use of video in recruitment was going to increase significantly. We've heard from some really interesting companies this morning, so video's been a really strong topic already in the day. So I think we can be confident of that. So what we know is your hiring managers are already using video on their personal devices and anything that IT hasn't blocked. And that's a real problem for you, because as recruiters, that means you've got no control over the candidate experience at all. You've got a real problem in terms of GDPR, and you've got a problem in terms of evidencing the decisions that have been made, because there's no record of this interview that happened. So, of course, a whole industry has sprung up with 1,000,001 video recruitment software specialists. We've heard from some really interesting ones this morning. I urge you to go and talk to them. And of course, what these have done is try to sort of regulate the process, bring it into your overall recruitment process in terms of link it to your applicant tracking system, tag it to the interview, tag it to the candidate. So again, you can evidence your decisions from a compliance point of view, and you can control the data as well. Okay, so let's quickly dive into that. One-way video interviews, we don't need to explain too much about that. You send an email, you get some videos back. You can review them at your leisure. Some real key advantages to this for recruiters. So particularly where you're looking to do this at scale, typically these will replace a first stage phone screen. So anybody who says, oh, don't worry, you can use video now, you don't need to do interviews, kick them out of the room. Right? This is not to replace face-to-face interviews, ever. So what we see here is a real advantage for recruiters in terms of the logistics of setting up all of these phone interviews where 2 p.m. on a Monday is the most popular time to apply for a job, because basically you've had your weekend, you've enjoyed it, you've just about made it through to lunchtime, and then, oh my God, I've got to get out of here and apply for a job. So everybody applies for a job at 2 o'clock on a Monday. So if you're trying to arrange your telephone interviews with the people you want to apply, they're at work. So they're going to have to go hide in the toilet, hide in the car park, or pull a sickie to do your phone interview, so they're not going to. Really, they want to do it evenings and weekends when they're free, which is when you are not free. So Working with one of our clients, Compass, we worked out that by using video interviewing in one of their graduate sifting programs, they saved about 90% of the cost of that first stage interview. And of course, there's a huge benefit for the candidate as well, in that they can put themselves across in a much better way. They're not stressed there and then trying to rush an interview in between their lunch hour. They can actually relax, evening, weekend, prepare for the answers, put themselves across in the most positive way so that you see them in the best light possible. What I'm going to do is take you through some data of some of our clients. So we've looked at about 50,000 video interviews that were completed on our platform during 2019. Without doubt, the largest use case that we see is still early careers. So be that apprentices, graduates, or internships. Increasingly, though, we are seeing video interview being used for lower level roles within organizations where customer service is really important. And somebody earlier touched on the importance of soft skills in recruitment. So video can be a really good way of assessing those soft skills, particularly in retail, customer service roles, hospitality, things like that, where this hire is going to be representing your brand. So actually how they come across is really very, very important. Some of our clients are consistently seeing 80% completion rates. And again, that echoes some of the data that you've already seen this morning from some other presenters. Generally speaking, what we see in our data is the completion rates for people working on early careers campaigns. They have twice the throughput rate of a sort of a general retail or a general service role. And there's various reasons for that, which we'll dig into in a minute. What we do also see sometimes is completion rates as low as 11%. Now that sounds awful, but what if you've got far more candidates than you know what to do with, and actually you're actively looking to screen out the candidates? So where you use video in your process can have a huge impact on how many candidates will make it through that stage. You know, if it's really, really early, you're going to get a low throughput rate. If it's later on, for example, in a graduate campaign, that person who's perhaps made it to stage 4 of the process, they are super invested in doing that video interview, and they will complete it, and they will work really hard to, you know, make sure they've thought about what's in the background and dress themselves appropriately and really think about their answers. So let's start looking at some of the data we've got from these 50,000 interviews. So first off, what is an interview? So typically an interview will comprise a number of questions. So, you know, the candidate reads a sentence and then sits down and records their answer. What we see is the average answer is about 40 seconds in length. Sometimes they go up to about 2 minutes. But if you actually sit there and try and talk for 2 minutes on one subject, it's a really painfully long time. So generally speaking, we advise clients to keep answers to about a minute maximum. Because above that, it actually starts to get really onerous for the hiring managers to review all these. And so that really links down to the number of questions as well. So you'll see, I think it's 82% of the positions that were advertised on our platform had 3, 4, or 5 questions. You know, if you're going to go to the work of set up a video interviewing campaign, why would you then only ask 1 question? Doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. It's sort of that Goldilocks zone of you want to get enough information from the candidate that you can make a good decision, but not too much information so that it's really onerous for your hiring managers to review. Because the whole idea is this is easier and cheaper than running phone interviews. We have seen, I didn't show it on here, we have seen some clients who've used 12 questions. Now that makes for a really long process. But there's a good reason for that, which I'll come back to. So the flip side of that is for the candidate themselves. The more questions you ask them, the more likely they are to go and give up and not bother going through the process. So again, depending on what your goal is in terms of maximizing the number of people going through the system or actively trying to screen them out, might affect how many questions you build into the interview process. So you can see, you know, if you're only asking 1 or 2 questions, 60% of people are going to get through. Down to 3, 4, or 5 questions, you're around 40, 45%. As soon as you start to get into more than that, you know, at least 2/3 of people are actually not going to complete that stage. But maybe that's what you want. Why would you want that? So I think the very first thing that came up this morning was asking people what's your biggest challenge in recruitment right now. And I think the biggest one was brand awareness and candidate attraction. One of our clients doesn't have that problem because everybody knows who they are and wants to work for them. So last year they ran 43 different video interview campaigns on our platform. They had about 9,500 people who were invited to do a video interview. And they got about a 70% completion rate. So again, they're using it relatively late in the process. So those candidates are really, really invested to complete it. The production apprentice scheme got 12,500 applications for one job. So Actually, no, there was about a dozen positions on that apprentice program, but 12,500 applications. So they'd already been through 2 or 3 stages before they then sent out 1,500 invites, which resulted in about 1,100 completed interviews. That then sifted down to about 100 people to actually bring into assessment centres. So it works as part of the overall recruitment process. Okay, so that's enough about one-way video interviewing, because video is way, way, way bigger in recruitment than just video interviewing, obviously. Everybody in here will have a beautifully produced video on your careers site about why it's so wonderful to work at your company. Perhaps you've got an interview with the CEO. Perhaps you've got some previous graduates or previous employees who've given a profile of why they work there. Fantastic. But as has been pointed out, if you go onto Google, search for a job ad, click on it, you miss your careers site entirely, and you land straight on the job description and the job ad itself. So you've missed all that beautiful video interview content, all that beautiful video content you spent so much money producing. So what you should be doing is putting video in the actual job ad, in the actual job description itself. So that's an increasing trend. And I think, obviously, we've got companies seeing it here today. In terms of the growth in sort of selfie-style job descriptions, like a realistic job preview of the person on the job saying, hey, Karen, this is our department, have a look around, here's the team you'll be working with, you'll need these skills, that sort of thing. So we're seeing a really big growth in that. And we all know that jobs which contain videos get more clicks, get more dwell time, get more application. We know that there's going to be quite a change in terms of some of the big job boards and multi-posters who are going to bring in support for videos in your job ads. So that's going to drive competition in places like Indeed, where they're already a hugely important source for most of us. Again, Direct Line touched this morning on sort of gamification and bringing more interactivity into the application process rather than just sort of a boring application process. So we're already seeing people using videos within here. So watch this video and then tell me what you would do, or combining it with a situational judgment test. So for example, you film a fictitious argument at the checkout or at the table. Watch this video. Now tell me, pick what your first, second, and third options were. Hopefully it's not swear at the customer. So we're seeing plenty of that growth. Another quick show of hands. Who here has already invested in some sort of onboarding software or process within onboarding or pre-boarding? Okay, so a good third of people. And we know there's lots of research to show that there's a lot more going on in that area in terms of investment, of recognizing how important it is to land that employee and then make sure they stick, because otherwise that requisition just bounces straight back to the recruitment team to go and hire me somebody who will work out. So unsurprisingly, video is proving very popular in the pre-boarding and onboarding process, whether, again, it's a greeting from the CEO, a greeting from your departmental manager, perhaps it's a video tour of the facilities, here's our gym, here's where there's a crash on site, that sort of thing. So we know that that's really helping to keep the candidate warm in that sort of horrible period between accepting the job and actually landing there on day one. Anybody had their car serviced recently? Did you get one of those nice videos at the end where Kevin walks around under your car and shows you why your brakes are worn and shows you the empty oil to prove that he hasn't ripped you off of doing that? Works really, really, really well. And people in the office are sitting there going, that was fantastic, I'll go back to them. I know they've done a good job because I can see it. So why not have that in your recruitment process? So imagine you've got through to shortlist and, hey, congratulations, here's a shortlist. You've made it to shortlist. Click here to book your next stage interview. Or congratulations, you're going to be joining our assessment centre. Here's a quick video of what it's going to be like. We tried to phone you, we couldn't get hold of you. Great news, we want you for the job. Here's where your desks are going to be. So you could build those videos into the system to add that more interactivity and personal touch. What we've also started to see this year is the flip side of things for hiring managers. So, John, you've got an interview tomorrow. Please watch our best practice on how to conduct an interview. Here's how you should set up the room. Make sure you've got some water. Have you shown them fire drill? All that sort of stuff. So you can actually have guidance for your hiring managers delivered via video, something really, really easy to consume. Live video interviews, as in we're talking to each other here and now. Really important, particularly in more senior roles where geography might play a part in things, where you want to see the candidate. Again, they might be used outside of sort of official IT systems, no control from a compliance point of view, from a GDPR point of view. A trend we're seeing sort of starts in education and public sector, often then flows into professional services and then flows out to all of us, is actually having the panel interview recorded, transcribed, so you can evidence those decisions later in life, and people can get together, reducing the cost of the whole interview process, particularly if you're looking at lots and lots of volume. Okay. One final piece in terms of what's here now, before we go on to looking at what's in the future. Lots of us are investing in a bot on the careers site, and it might be there to answer general questions, or it might be there to ask about the role, or help the candidate who's using a mobile phone really quickly find the right vacancy. What bots can also do now is actually start the application process within the chat itself, start to ask you questions. You can upload your CV from Dropbox or Google Drive. You could also start an on-demand video interview there and then to, hey, answer this quick question about why you want to work at the company. That could be a one-way thing, or it could actually there and then start a two-way interview if you've got your recruitment team there to answer a question, for example. So we're definitely seeing that increase as a trend. Okay, what's around the corner? So this is just a snapshot of our beta system. And there's a couple of things I'll take you through on here. So the first one is lots of video interview systems right now should be able to take the speech of what the candidate has said and transcribe that for you so that you've got a record of what the candidate said. So the logical thing to do then is be able to translate that into any language. Why? So what if you've got a customer support center where bilingual skills is a requirement, but you yourself cannot assess if they've answered very correctly in Spanish? Easy. Get the computer to do it for you. Likewise, if you've got recruitment responsibilities across Europe, but the recruitment team is all in England speaking English, again, this sort of thing can help. There's been a couple of comments already about the facial recognition and sentiment analysis, so the idea of the artificial intelligence making some judgments on how the candidate felt when they were answering the question, being able to draw some pretty graphs and things like that, or actually analyzing the words that the candidates used and thereby trying to make some predictions on what the candidate's thinking, what they're feeling, what their personality is. I think this is an area that is going to grow, but is an area that right now, for most of us, is probably interesting rather than useful. So, perhaps we can address that in the Q&As, but if you've got Alexa at home, how often does Alexa get it wrong in terms of what you're asking for? So, if you haven't got the speech recognition 100% at the front end, how would you make an automated hiring decision based on a word you've misheard? That strikes us as something worrying. So I'm going to finish with a quick 2-minute video of our CEO, who was on BBC News recently, actually talking about artificial intelligence in recruitment, the pros, the cons, and the things to think about. So hopefully this will work.
Hey, welcome back to Talking Business with me, Aaron Hesselus. I'm going to get into this straight away. Being recruited by bots. Yeah, AI technology, apparently it's everywhere now. Dean Sadler runs Tribepad, recruitment software provider. Basically, you provide the tech for the recruitment industry.
That's right.
And so I was saying things, really, you can, so what are we talking about? I put a CV in and it goes through a computer AI and it's going to say yay or nay.
Not quite that simplistic. What happens is you upload your CV and computer systems in the background identify, your skills and your attributes, and you get highlighted based on...
Go to the next level, if you will.
Yeah,
right.
So you go through a process where you get shortlisted and then go for a real interview.
And some of your technology is also using this video. So I could either post my own video to that, or I could have a video conference, right, with my possibly new employer. But not only is it a video, but AI is working in the background behind that, isn't it?
Yeah, without a doubt, sure. So the way I look at it is a CV is a two-dimensional representation of somebody. It tells you what you've done historically in black and white. But a video or images and graphics kind of highlight that personality or that individual's personality and characteristics in 3D, gives a better representation of that individual.
Is there a danger? Do you have to put some tools in place using AI so we don't have bias, perhaps? How does that work?
Well, software is written by people, okay?
Yeah.
And people inherently have bias.
That's true, yes.
So if you're going to write the software with one individual and no checks and balances, then undoubtedly there will be some bias embedded into the system. But that's one part. The other part is the actual data that you use to feed that algorithm. So if you're using a small data set or cohort of data, then again, your end result is going to be biased. So you need to make sure that a team of individuals is writing the algorithm and checking it, and you're using a big enough data set so it makes sense.
In about 25 seconds, will we ever see the whole job application process from actually getting the job being done by AI?
Not in my career, I don't think. I think people are just reticent to say, or allow computers to say no.
Right.
I think you're always going to have that human element.
Okay. Because of that long interview, we're ran out of time, but your software is used in every country apart from North Korea and the Vatican City.
Correct.
17 languages.
Correct.
Thank you so much. Short and sweet, but we appreciate your time for coming on in. That is it. I'm back tomorrow, same time, same place. Follow me on Twitter. Tweet me, I'll tweet you back. You can get me at BBC Aaron. Philip is back at the top of the hour with Impact and no doubt more on that Carlos Ghosn press conference. See you tomorrow. Bye. It's Friday. No, it's Thursday.
I love that guy. Honestly, I thought he was going to hit him. We were watching it going, oh my God, what's he doing? Anyway, right, so I'll finish up with some take-home points for you on video. So obviously, we know that the use of video is booming. You've heard from several people today saying that, and I'm sure you can all see it within your own organizations. Your hiring managers are already doing it, so don't let them get out in front of you. You need to be in control of it, controlling the candidate experience, making sure your organization is protected from a compliance point of view. There's real benefits in terms of candidate experience and engagement, and we've seen that in the stats of throughput, satisfaction of people using these things. I've touched on the compliance and D&I, really important area that everybody's highlighting as a real priority. Way more to video than just video interviewing. Video interviewing is not suitable for lots of jobs. So we were talking on the table just there about how you just wouldn't use video interviewing to hire a developer. They'd be like, no, thank you, I'm in demand. No. So there are certain roles where you just shouldn't be using video interviewing. There are others where it can be a real benefit. The tech will undoubtedly get smarter. So there are people out there saying, we can auto-screen your candidates for you. I'd be really suspicious of that. But it will get smarter and it will get there. Nothing replaces proper human interaction, properly trained recruiters, properly trained hiring managers following a process that you have control and confidence in. But hopefully, this can enhance the experience and give you more tools at your disposal. So thank you very much.